What is up, guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Crypto FUD. And let's jump right into this, guys. Wow, we got a bullish day today, guys. We have a bullish day right now. The markets are absolutely ripping right now. We're going to go over everything. What's going on? Why are the markets absolutely ripping? Well, we have a few things going on right now that are really carrying the market. And this is great. This is great, guys. So let's jump into this. We're not going to be here for too long today. I think today's what, Wednesday? Days are just flying by. Happy hump day. No Diddy on that one. Let's do this. Make sure you guys slap that like, and let's just jump in here. All right, so Bitcoin right now sitting at 121,700. Nice little bump. And let's see here. Nice little bump in the market for today on market open. What is going on? Well, we're going to cover that right now, but I do want to just go over the prices. So obviously Bitcoin breaking that 121 right now. Looks like Ethereum is having a little bit of a cool off right now. Looks like we're finding some support at a good support level at around 4670 is what it looks like it's trying to bounce at. Really the support level, it just bounced a little bit below, but 4660 is going to be really where that support level is. So looking fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised if Ethereum potentially cools off just a little bit as of right now. Bitcoin seems to be getting a lot of traction, and we're going to cover why Bitcoin particularly is getting traction. And I'm sure Bitcoin dominance is probably starting to move up slightly right now. All the maxis are like, hell yeah, that was it. All coin season's over with. No. Don't even try, buddy. So you can see, obviously, look at that. Dominance is, having a little bit of a spurt towards the upside right now. Hopefully what we'll see is dominance come up towards around this 59.8 area and get rejected, and we continue this move towards the downside. I'm not expecting dominance to just, drop down and, it's never going to keep retracing or finding support. It's just like Bitcoin. It's just like Ethereum. There's going to be times where dominance is going to come down, find support, it's going to have a little bounce, and then it's going to continue that downward move, and that's exactly what we're going to continue to have. So Bitcoin right now at around 122,000. Craig, what's going on? Shazan, what's going on, guys? Arrows up. We'll pull that up here in a second. So what is going on? Well, let's talk about a couple things here to keep it short. So bullish prices on IPO at $37, valuing crypto exchanges at $5.4 billion. So this is just one of a couple things that are going on. So looks like the bullish, this is the ticker's called, what's the ticker called? It's like BLSH. So let's see here. So bullish price is its IPO, and we're going to explain what all this is. It's valuing the exchange at $5.4 billion and raising $1.1 billion. Trading will start on the NASDAQ under the ticker BLSH, with BlackRock and ARK eyeing up to $200 million in shares. The listing follows the wave of 2025 crypto's IPOs, including Circle, eToro, Galaxy Digital, and Gemini. So bullish to debut on the NASDAQ. That's today. Trading will begin on New York Exchange under the ticker BLSH. And we just explained the exact same thing. Let's see here. So this isn't the exact reason why, but this is also why Bitcoin is running right now. You're having a lot of exchanges now actually debuting and going on to the actual stock market, NASDAQ to be exact, and you're seeing a massive run and results of this right now. So let's see here. So just covering what's going on. So BlackRock and ARK Investment Management, led by Cathie Wood, have expressed interest in acquiring up to $200 million worth of shares. Headquarters in the Cayman Islands and led by former NASDAQ President Tom Flaherty, bullish targets institutional investors, combining decentralized finance protocols with centralized security. Since launching in 2021, it has preceded over $1.25 trillion in total trading volume as of March 31st. The company also owns CoinDesk, a crypto media outlet that operates market indexes, analytics, and data services. So the backers include billionaire PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel, and they are betting on a favorable market conditions and U.S. administration supportive of the crypto industry. So Trump administration pushes pro-crypto agenda. We'll cover that here in a second. So the reason why this is such a big deal is basically we're seeing more integration with crypto in the stock market, guys. right? So now you're seeing the stock market basically integrating with crypto on a lot of things here. Does this price correlate exactly with Bitcoin? Absolutely not, right? But technically it could, because you're seeing these new these really big, IPOs dropping that are solely through crypto. They're not maybe resulted in Bitcoin's price exactly, but they do actually make Bitcoin and the crypto industry good, because you're seeing a lot of stock market, old money that's in the stock market. They're just basically seeing crypto everywhere now, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these older people, and I don't mean to say older, but older investors, start moving from the stock market, allocating some of their portfolios and moving into Bitcoin as well. So this is one thing that's going on. But the other thing is something that we've been talking about. As of today, 99.9% of the market is pricing in that we are 100% going to see not 100, 99.9% going to see a reduction in interest rates coming up in 35 days from now, guys. This is big right here. This is another reason why we're seeing the markets, not only crypto, but the stock market as well, just basically running today. Right now, I mean, you guys can see yesterday it was a big shift. We were at around 80, I think it was like 85%. Literally, we have gone up to 99.9% of the market is literally pricing in that we are going to see interest rates starting to be reduced coming up in literally a month from now, which is a big thing as far as investors. So like I said, a lot of big things. This is just hitting this, not even scratching the surface on what's going on, but a lot of big things are going on in the market. Obviously, we have, this administration that's so pro crypto that has basically paved the way for a lot of this institutions, a lot of this money to come flying into crypto. And we kind of knew this was going to happen at some point, but it's happened rapidly. So with that, that's why we're seeing, particularly Bitcoin back kind of in the shine. Right now, Bitcoin, literally just ran up to 122,000, and you're seeing a little bit of a cool off with Ethereum. But by no means is Ethereum done running or anything like that. I mean, you can see the massive run up on Ethereum. Like I said, as long as we hold some solid support, I mean, given this 4660 right here, this area right here, we're literally probably 0.5% away from all-time highs for Ethereum. I don't mean 0.5%, I mean 5%, but we're at 4.6% as of now. So things are looking great, guys. Things are looking great. Let's look at the bubbles here, and we'll cover a couple other things. So looking at the bubbles for today, absolutely green across the board. Looks like we're seeing some big runs. Fartcoin up 28%. WIF is up 12%. Arbitrum 14%. Solana, what is going on? Let me see here. Is everything up really that much? I mean, on here it says Solana's up 5%, Arbitrum's up 9%, but on the bubbles, it looks like we're freaking killing it today. Holy crap. ADA's up 11% right now, guys. Let's pull up that chart and see. Anybody in the chat have holding ADA? Look at this, up to 88 cents as of right now. Freaking insane. Today's a good day, guys. Today is a good day across the board. I mean, across the board, I mean, you're seeing some solid green, not those little 1 or 2%. We're seeing some big moves for bigger cap projects. ADA, like I said, up 88%, up to 88 cents, up 11%. Jupiter, 10%. Caspa, up 12%. Looks like across the board, like I keep saying, just freaking, it looks amazing. But the one thing I want to talk about real quick, OKB, look at this. Up 127% in the day. Why the hell is OKB up so high? Well, let's talk about that here. If I can find my chart, or not my chart, but where is it? There it is. All right, so OKB price explodes over 170% after OKX wipes 65 million tokens from supply. So they basically took out over 65 million tokens from their circulating supply. And we're going to pull that up here in a second. But you can see OKX has executed a broad upgrade to its X layer network and overhauled the economic model of its OKB token, implementing changes that reshape its infrastructure and supply metrics. The update disclosed on August the 13th includes a one-time burn of 65,256,712 tokens, capping the total supply at 21 million. You see that? So they took out, holy crap, that's a lot. Hold on here. Is that like 70% of their supply? Let's look at this real quick. Wait, hold on here. Let's see here. As of the 13th, confirmed. I don't know if this is resulting yet because it says the circulating supply is 60 million. 60 million, but let me see here. If they really took out that much, I mean, if you think about it, so if their total supply is at 21 million now, right? They took out 65 million. That means they were at around 86 million. They took out literally like 60 or 70% of their circulating supply. And look at that. They're matching 21 million. What other project has 21 million in not in circulating supply, but max supply? What other project has 21 million? You're right. Ordinals. No, but Bitcoin. Bitcoin has 21 million. So does Ordinals. So that's pretty cool that they're basically matching what Bitcoin has. Just reading further in the competition of the PP upgrade. Should I say no diddy on that one? The competition of the PP upgrade. You can do that? Oh, we'll continue to move. That integrates the latest Polygon chain development kit to enhance performance. I see what they're doing there. You see what they're doing there, guys? Shazam said, make sure you guys hit that like. I appreciate that. Infinity, when bullish, go live. I hear you, bro. I hear you. Old, what's going on, bro? Crip, your Myro was up 35% at one point this morning. I know, bro. Thanks for throwing it in my face. I told you last week, I think Ricky called it. He said, now that I announced that I sold my Myro, it's going to start flying up. And that's exactly what it did yesterday. Yesterday, I was sitting there looking at Myro. I was like, and just with that face, like, really, bro? Really? So the recent upgrade completed on August the 5th, which was last week, I believe, right? Yeah, last week, increases through output to 5,000 transactions per second and reduces gas costs to nearly zero while aligning more closely with Ethereum's mainnet. These technical changes are designed to support high concurrency scenarios and improve their developer experience. That's pretty cool. So it looks like they're really shaping up to really compete as far as DeFi, right? And you can see at literally the next sentence, OKX is targeting DeFi, global payments, and real-world asset insurances as primary use cases supported by its ecosystem fund, liquidity incentives, and new infrastructure to cross-chain bridges, oracles, and compliance services. So that's pretty cool. I mean, they definitely, just this alone, the fact that they just reduced all the, or not all, but a big handful of their circulating supply, and then also what we just read as far as them being able to what they're claiming, what they're trying to get to is being able to support up to 5,000 transactions per second with near zero charges, right? Meaning you can do swaps on their DeFi platform for nearly zero, probably pennies to the dollar, pretty much, kind of like what is going on with Solana, right? That's why people build on Solana, is because the transaction fees are basically, so cheap compared to a lot of different ecosystems. So definitely that's a big move right there. That's why we're seeing OKB basically shoot up. We're at almost 130% now, just because they literally took out basically 70% of their circulating supply. So that's awesome. But I mean, guys, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Just nothing but green across the board. And it's not like, we're up, maybe 1 or 2%. Look at these freaking these moves here. Arrow, someone called it out. We're gonna pull that chart up. Arrow, the biggest swap on base, up 16%. Right? Jasmy, another 7%. Jasmy was running yesterday. Say, up 14%. Bunk, I think I already called that out, up 10%. Solana, it says it's up 13% on here. Pump Fund up 7%. I mean, going across the board, everything looks absolutely fantastic today. And I'm telling you guys, as we continue this journey, right? As we continue this journey and we just keep moving, I keep telling you guys this. Once we broke that $4,000 for Ethereum, that was such a big, just so big for alts, because now it just, I'm telling you, someone was telling me in the Discord, oh, but retail really hasn't come in. Yes, they have. We haven't seen a massive influx, right? That's usually comes towards the top of the market where, you're seeing just billions and billions of new money coming in. We haven't necessarily seen that. What we're seeing is retail coming back to the space. But the new investors, they're slowly trickling in. We covered this last week. Google searches are up for crypto. Google searches are up for Coinbase, right? Google searches are up on how do I buy crypto. We covered this all last week. On top of a lot of things, the apps, right? Robinhood and Coinbase being one of the top apps being downloaded right now on phones. That right there tells you, do you think institutions are downloading apps? Do you think institutions are Googling, how do I buy crypto? No, that's retail. That's retail. Those are signs that are showing you that retail is here, but it's not in full-blown, masses yet. But they're here. And days like this is what brings them, this is what brings new and more investors coming in. When you're seeing green across the board, when you're seeing a lot of these meme coins starting to wake up. So things look good, guys. Things look great, just like we've been pretty much predicting, right? Bill says he has ADA. Nice, bro. ADA's doing great. I wouldn't be surprised, dude. Honestly, looking at ADA real quick, let's pull up the daily. We're going to pull up some charts. If you guys have anything that you want to look at right now, let me know before I go into any more articles. If you guys have anything else that's bullish, we're going to pull up Arrow because someone called it out. But if you have anything else, speak now. For ADA, you can see for ADA, looking at the fib retracement and looking at spots, I haven't really gone crazy as far as putting resistance and support levels on ADA. But you can see on a gist, probably your next major, really big spot that's going to be some solid resistance is going to be that dollar mark, no matter what. That $1 mark, I'm going to just mark it right now. I guarantee that is going to be probably your biggest, your next big spot. And you can see right here, if we go to the dollar, look how many times previously, this was when I was in ADA back in the day, you can see how many times we were bouncing off this, finding it as support. This is going to be a spot for some resistance just because that's that mental, you're going from 99 cents to $1, right? We always talk about this. It's that mental kind of spot where people, they won't sell at 98. They won't sell at 99. But damn it, if you get to that $1, I'm selling my whole position, right? We made it. And that's kind of what the train of thought is for, a lot of investors, especially, or the same thing is like when you're talking about meme coins and you're at like 3 zeros, right? And that meme coin's running up and it eats up one of those zeros. It's a mental spot where people are like, they won't sell at that 1% below, losing the zero. But right when it loses that zero, they sell everything, right? And it's just how it is. But a lot of investors are going to slowly but surely be FOMOing in. Like I said, that dollar might be a little spot. It's probably going to be a solid spot for some resistance, but I wouldn't be surprised if we just fly right by it. You can see previously, this was back in 2021, and damn, I remember this. I was buying ADA all back here, and man, I remember when ADA shot up to $1. I was like, holy shit, it broke $1. I couldn't even believe it. But we didn't just break $1, right? I mean, on the daily, it's not going to show. Maybe we might have on like an hourly or 2 hour chart. We might have probably hit our head at the $1, but you can see on the daily, we blasted right by. We literally blasted right by, and that's when that FOMO really set in for ADA. Once we broke that $1. You can see, obviously, we saw a sell-off, in the next couple of days, but look at that. We just kept running, and eventually that $1 became support. And that's probably what we're going to see here, as we move forward for ADA, as we approach. It's not giving me the option to fly through, but you can see once we get up towards that $1 for ADA, it's probably going to be a little bit of a resistance area, but I wouldn't be surprised we blast off. 618 at $1.17 is going to be your next real spot that we've looked like previously, at the beginning of this year when we did break above $1. briefly, though, the 618 was a spot for some resistance. You can see multiple times right there that we basically hit our head. So let's pull up Arrow real quick. You can see a nice move. So Arrow is the biggest swap that's on base right now, right? Coinbase's ecosystem base. You can see a nice move. I think we've called this out. I did make a video about this, basically calling out all this as we were moving up. A couple things to point out for Arrow is you can see, obviously, higher lows being made, right? Upward trajectory. You can see a nice move past the resistance line that we had right here, which is basically at $1 even for Arrow, right? We came up a couple times, needed to retest it, got rejected, but bounced right at the 786. And then you can see this massive run that we've had. And Arrow looks particularly good because look at this run up. We literally came, you can't even make this up right here. This chart right here probably looks as clean cut as you want it to be. A bounce off the 786, right? We come up, we basically tested the 618 again, broke above the 618, and look what we did. We came back and tested it as support, and now we came up and we're at the 0.5, and it looks like it's kind of doing the same thing where it broke above the 0.5, and as of now on the daily, it looks like it's trying to find support at that 0.5, which is at the $1.30 area, $1.32 area right there at the 0.5. So Arrow looks great, and I wouldn't be surprised as long as we keep days like we have now. Arrow, ADA, and everything down the road is going to continue to have fantastic days. So Old said, "Oh, I didn't know you sold it. Sorry." You guys believe that? Bill said PP upgrade definitely requires a no Diddy, right, bro? I honestly didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could go and do that. We learned something not only about crypto but about other things. I didn't know you could go get an upgrade. Interesting, Ricky, what's going on, bro? Punk with the no Diddy. Shazan said, thoughts on Elon and Rufus chain. Will it go back up? I guess you're talking about Doge Elon is what you're talking about. We'll pull that up here. I see Old with the kind words, bro. I'm going to read that out here in a minute. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. So, the question is Dogelon going to, come back up, and this is hard to say, bro. I always say, and I've said this before, I said this well before even this crazy Giga scam, Wick happened. This was at the beginning of this year. I always say that if you're invested in a project that's like kind of gone dormant, you have two different scenarios, right? And we all know. Either you hold on and just wait for a day like this, right, where it shoots up 400% in literally hours, and either sell off or reposition yourself, or you just wait and hope that one day this project's going to get some kind of some kind of hype behind it to where it can start moving back up. My thing is with this project, and I'm going to be 100% with you, bro, is that when this project came out and we saw these massive runs, there wasn't a lot going on in the market. You go back 2021, there really wasn't a lot of meme coins for competition, right? So, we had maybe 5 to 10 different meme coins to pick from that were like the main meme coins, and this was one of them. This broke above $1 billion at some point. I invested in this project and did really well back in 2021, but I knew I didn't hold on to it. I sold it, right? The point of what I'm getting to is, nowadays, there's just so much competition in the meme coin space. Literally times like 1 million from what it was back in 2021, that I think that you're going to see probably one more day like this where you'll see some just crazy spurt towards the upside, but it'll be short-lived. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't anticipate this project just coming up and competing with the top dogs unless something happens on the back end where the devs are coming out and they're like, they something big has gone on. But we all know what moves a meme coin is hype. Hype's what moves a meme coin, and usually the hype tends to be towards the newer projects or the few that are still around that are worth billions of dollars per market cap. This is not in either one of those categories. So that's the only thing I say is just to be honest with you, bro. You have either you're going to wait for a day like this, and I would take advantage of it, or just maybe wish on a star that that the hype, something happens and, this project becomes relevant again. That's the only thing I can say about this. So, I mean, I hope one day that we come back and we look and, this project is going crazy and, everybody has an opportunity to freaking jump out, because I know this has been my heart goes out to anybody that's invested in this project still, because it stinks. And this isn't the only project that this has happened to, right? It happens to a lot of meme coins at some point, so it is what it is, bro. But good luck with that, bro. Old said, non-members, you're watching one of the most dedicated and concise crypto channels right now. Please consider joining. Crip is the best. Oh, I appreciate that, Old. I really do appreciate that, bro. I'm not paying him to say that. Old, send me your wallet, all right? Your wallet address. I appreciate that, bro. Try to every 10 minutes come out with some, some of that. Appreciate it, bro. No, I thank you so much, Old. No problem, Shazam. Troy said pump to the moon. Troy, pump actually has been moving to the moon. I guess it is true. If you keep saying it, it'll eventually will happen, man. Let's see. Ricky said, I'm running for fuel. I always dread filling the 100-gallon tank. All right. What is he driving? What are you driving? A 16-wheeler? The hell is he talking about? What is he talking about? Let's jump into some DeFi. So real quick, we talked about this on our I think we talked about this on the regular stream yesterday. If I'm not, oh no, we did a member stream. Did we do a regular? I don't even remember nowadays, man. But ZBEC, if you are invested in ZBEC, if you're wondering like why has ZBEC been coming down while the market's been moving up, remember that tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, I'm going to check right now. I believe tomorrow, from the 14th to the 15th, they are going to be adding 2% to their circulating supply, which that's what they do every month. This month is actually going to be the last month that they add 2% to their circulating supply. And then from here on out, for the next few months, it's going to be only 1%, right? This has been planned since they started the project. They're very transparent about it, but for whatever reason, people sell off, right? Like every 3.5 weeks, people sell off, right? Because they're adding 2% to the circulating supply. I don't know. It kind of blows my mind, but at the same time, I'm like, who gives a shit? It gives me a chance to buy in more, so it is what it is. The market cap for the whole crypto space is at an all-time high right now, guys. We're at $4.12 trillion. Freaking insane. Do you guys remember? I don't know if any of you guys were here, just about 3 years ago when we were in a bear market. Well, it's been over 3 years now because we're about to hit, that 4-year top. But 3.5 years ago, we'll say 3 years ago, the crypto market cap as a whole was under $1 trillion. That's how bad things got. Including Bitcoin, we were under $1 trillion. Think about that. Under $1 trillion. It was great times, actually, because we were buying in on projects that were literally pennies compared to the multi-dollars that they're worth now, during bear markets. That's why I said, guys, we have to plan this perfectly. This is like the biggest thing that we talk about right now on our member stream. That's like the number one thing that we focus on is really just playing out the top of this market perfectly. And I think that's like the most important thing really is, because the top is coming, guys. It's coming. I mean, listen, we all have different, scenarios as far as where the top is going to be, what, as far as like time frame. And I don't think any of us are going to be exact on, right? But going off the 4-year cycle, in the member streams, we've already pretty much mapped out a duration of time where we're pretty much thinking this is where it's most likely going to top. Obviously, we're not just going off of that time frame. There's going to be a lot of flags, right? There's going to be extreme greed. There's going to be a lot of different, things going on. Obviously, Ethereum is going to be well into all-time highs. You're going to notice that your portfolio has 5x'd. There's going to be a lot of different signs going on that's going to indicate that either we're near a top or maybe we've topped out, right? And I think that's the most important thing that we have coming up, because if you plan this perfectly, when we go into a bear market, whenever the bear market happens, because it's going to happen again, whenever we go into a bear market, you're going to be happy as hell because you're going to be buying stuff, going back into the market at some point, buying some of this stuff at a fraction of the prices that you're seeing right now, right? And this is how people are so successful in the bull runs. And you're wondering, why are people selling right now? Why are people? Because they bought in when it was at under a penny. Now that it's at $1, they've 100x, right? They were buying during the bear market when everybody was terrified, or when people were still holding from the previous bull market because they didn't sell because their favorite YouTuber was telling them that we were going to run there was no more bear markets, or we're going to run all the way to the end of 2026 or 27 or whatever the hell people are saying nowadays, right? Just completely not acknowledging that since Bitcoin's history, we have been on a 4-year cycle. I know, right? Things are so different this time. Things are so different. They are. But this was the same shit that people were saying back in 2021 when we topped out at 69,000. People were like, no, we're going to 100K. We're going to 100K. And some people got wrecked. Some people held when we started moving down because they thought, well, this is just another dip. Yeah, it was another dip, but that dip was a bear market that lasted 18 months. Imagine going through that. And a lot of those people that didn't sell at the top, that were so in the green, sold at losses 12 months later. And they're like, I hate crypto. No, you just made the wrong decisions. You listened to the wrong people. You had that FOMO, that greed that made you lose, right? Because you were up like crazy, but you didn't want to sell because you still wanted another 10x on top of your 20x that you already had, right? That's going to be the hard part. We're all going to go through it, but the point of what I'm getting to is planning this out. The end of this run is going to be such a big deal. It's going to set you up for when we do finally get into this bear market to really execute and capitalize off of some of the prices that we're gonna see. And I'm not saying this is gonna be right, the next week or two. This is gonna be, it's gonna take a long time. As far as the top for the market, at some point, I think at the end of this year, and then the bear market, it's gonna take a while. But I'm thinking towards the end of 2026, 2027 is probably gonna be where the best buys are going to probably be, because that's going to be probably where we bottom out in the bear market. So, wow, start talking about the bear market and a bunch of people leave the stream. Isn't that crazy? Because they don't want to hear that. They want me to tell you that the price is just going to continue to move up at all times. So, those are going to be the people that get wrecked. Mark my words. Those are going to be the people, so it is what it is. Ricky said he's not scared. I know you're not, bro. Listen, I know all my members, you guys are 100% prepared. 100%. I don't worry about you guys. I really don't. It's the 10 people, the 15 people that just left the stream. Those are the people I don't worry about. I'm just like, those are going to be the people that are probably going to get wrecked, most likely. They just went to another stream that's telling them that there's going to be no bear market whatsoever. I used to be that person. I remember I used to be that person. If someone, like, when people were telling me, like, where they were like, bro, talking about, like, wait, why aren't you talking about the prices just always moving up? I'm out of here. I'm removing my like. I'm taking my like back. Punk said, I don't want that to be me on, this is my first run. Oh, really? First run, bro. Epic. Old said, yeah, I held last time. Wasn't aware that there was a cycle. I got an education real quick. Bro, I think we all, some of us, that's how you learn, right? You end up making some, not best of the moves. I'm trying to word it properly, but sometimes you just end up, not doing the right things, and you end up, hopefully you learn from those mistakes. It happens. I always tell you guys the story of Shiba. It happened to me like one time where I literally held it, was up 15x and then rode the thing all the way back down, no diddy. And I was like, I'm never going through this again, because I had so much greed at the time, right? Where I turned a few $100s into thousands of dollars. And I literally was like, this is going to go up to 1 million, and then you come back a few days later and it was all gone. And I'm like, bro, this is like, I literally, did a rookie move right there. So I was like, I'm never going to do that shit again. Old said they had to go to the bathroom. Yeah. They're on another stream right now, and the guy's telling them that this is it. Bull market's running all the way to 2030. That $100 that you put into that meme coin, $10 million in the next few months. I should start putting my thumbnails like that. Look at this bullish article right here. So why Standard Chartered now sees Ethereum hitting 25K within 30 months. So let's see here. So 2025 prediction also jumps to 7.5K as corporate treasuries accumulate supply and institutional engagement reshapes market demands. So Standard Chartered has lifted its year-end price target for Ethereum to 7,500 from 4,000. Yeah, I would imagine they would have to change that, right? Citing a stronger industry backdrop and a new demand from corporate treasuries. Per Reuters, the bank also raised its 2028 projection to 25,000 from 7,500. Ether was trading at about 4,679 on Wednesday, levels last seen in November 2021. The revision marks a reversal from March, when Standard Chartered cut its 2025 forecast from 10,000 to 4,000. At the time, the bank attributed the downgrade to structural headwinds, including revenue diversion to layer 2 networks such as Coinbase's Base, which is estimated could remove roughly $50 billion from Ethereum's market capitalization and slow down to the network's on-chain economic activities. As much as I want to agree with this article, 25,000, I mean, this just kind of shows you. Just a few months ago, they were saying that we were going to top out at the end of this year at $4,000, right? And the only reason why they changed that estimation is because we already broke 4,000. So now they're like, oh, okay, they're moving the goalpost. I do agree. Maybe we break above 7,500 by the end of this year, right? I don't think that's not my argument. My argument is, how serious can you take these people? When, like I said, just a few weeks ago, they were calling for a $4,000 Ethereum by the end of this year, right? And the only reason why they're changing is because they had to. We actually were calling this shit out over a month ago, saying that we definitely were going to hit 4,000. No, like it was a given when we were at 2,500, right? So you got to take with a grain of salt their predictions on 25,000 by 2028. I mean, I think they're just really throwing out a bunch of numbers here. But, I mean, there are facts in between a lot of their bullshit that they're giving out, which institutions, we've been talking about that. Institutions are doubling down on Ethereum, right? That is going to move Ethereum up, right? But them saying in the next 2 years we'll hit 25K, I don't know. I don't know how much I take with that. I'm not saying that Ethereum won't eventually get to that point. I think what we're gonna see is Ethereum probably topping out easily at around $75,000 to $10,000 potentially at the end of this year, and then maybe, like I say, top of the market, we go into 26, 27, potentially, we have a bear market at some point, right? I think the big question is how far down is Ethereum and Bitcoin going to go during that bear market? The last bear market, I don't think people realize that Bitcoin went down to 15,000, and Ethereum actually went to $900 during the bear market, you know? So that was, I mean, pretty low, right? But if you think about the previous bear market, Bitcoin was down to 3,000 and Ethereum was down to like $100, right? So, I mean, and that's how it's going to be. Every bear market, it's going to be a higher low, right? So I think that's the big thing that we need to see is what in 2026, 27, how high did Ethereum get and how low is it going to, where's the bottom? If Ethereum, bottoms out at like $5,000, $6,000 during the bear market, I'm just throwing numbers out, then yeah, 25K is like going to be easily attainable within the next 5 years, right? And same thing with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin bottoms out during, 27, during the bear market at, let's just throw a number at like maybe 90K, that's the bottom for Bitcoin. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin, shatters $250,000 in the next 5 years, stuff like that. I think that's the only way that we're going to be able to tell with stuff like that. It's throwing out numbers right now, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant, especially when these people just a few weeks ago were thinking that Ethereum was going to top out at $4,000 by the end of this year. It's just, to me, it just seems like they're not really, you can't take them too serious, in my opinion. So, but we'll see. We will see. Bitcoin right now looks like so far we're trying to break. So far we've run up to that 122,200. It looks like we've got some resistance around that area for now. Let's see here, but we're hovering right below it. So I think as the day goes on, hopefully we break those levels. Like I told you guys before, we really don't have much in the way as far as like macro numbers, even tariffs. I mean, we had the deadline for China yesterday, and they got an extension as far as 90 days, 3 months down the road, which is perfect because that's going to get that out of the way for, any kind of, resurgence on like tariffs and stuff like that. And then on top of that, we have now the market pretty much 100% in line, thinking that we're going to most likely get those interest rates reduction, coming up in the next 35 days. We don't have much in our way right now, right? We have profit taking because we've moved up on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I think as the days go on, as this week ends and we get into next week, as long as nothing kind of gets in our way, we have big moves that are going to continue, right? Big moves that are going to continue. Let's look at something real quick. I should have had this ready. Let me see here. So looking at back in history, right? We always pull this up. So far, 2025, you can see we've had some solid green months. You look at this. I mean, we've only had technically 2 months where we've closed in the red for this year. Everything else has been solid green months, right? I've said this before. I said I wouldn't be surprised. Remember, before we went into August, I predicted that August was most likely going to be a solid month. I'm thinking that September is where we're going to maybe get that little bit of a cool off, but I might have to redact that because of the Feds, and us getting the reduction in interest rates. But just looking at September, if you look at this, I mean, you can see it's mostly a red month, right? If you look at all of the history of Bitcoin, it's mostly a red month. Even during bull markets, right? When you go back to 2021, you look at September, it was actually, we've talked about this how many times already, but you can see it closed technically 7% down. August was a great month in 2021, and look at October, was up 40%. But September was a month where it just wasn't, it's not a great month. And if you really look at the last, if you look at these last like 7 years, it was all in the red. Last year we had a decent September. In 2023, we technically were coming out of a bear market. We had an okay September, right? But I'm thinking if you go back 4 years, 2021, September was a bad month. What about 2017? September was a bad month, right? Those are 8 years right there. 4 year and another 4 year, it was in the red. We might have where maybe September might be that cool off period before the final blast off is what I'm pretty much saying. So, But obviously, time's going to tell for that. Flip, what's going on, bro? MJ, when you're the best, let's see here. I've been listening to you when you started with me, lady. I appreciate that, bro. MJ, you know, you're if you're still here, you're like one of like 20 people that have come in the last like few weeks and it had popped back up or whatever the case is, you know, and said like, hey, I've been here since me, lady. And I always had to explain to everybody. I was like, bro, we started the channel off technically with me, lady. All right, that's what we. If you guys remember, if you're here just 2 years ago, that's literally what we were running the whole time was Me Lady. Me Lady was having epic runs, you know, so I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much for still being around. I do appreciate that. Do you still hold on to Me Lady or did you sell off? That's the question. That's the question. Old said, hey, Crip, could you do me a decent member stream on Cast sometime soon? Would love to know your opinion based on any extra research you dig up. Hell yeah, bro. We definitely can do that. We definitely can do that. Let's pull up Caspa right now, just while we're talking about it. How's Caspa doing right now, bro? That's the question. Let's see. Well, I will say on the crypto bubbles, right? Where's Caspa? On the bubbles, it was up, doing decent. I'm sure it's probably right in my face right here. It was. Where is it, guys? There it is. It's up 10%. Caspa's up 10% for today. So looking at the daily, you can see for Caspa, we've talked about this plenty of times. You know, I was calling this out. Anything below the 618 was a solid buy in my opinion, right? And you can see, obviously, that played out pretty well. Anything below that 618, which was 8 cents or below for Caspa, was a solid buy. And you can see now you're at around 10 cents. Looks like you guys finally broke above a area that's pretty much either support or resistance, right? Obviously, support, if it's above, you know, it's bounced off this area a couple times or a few times. And then resistance, if you're under, obviously you can see coming up, it is a spot where it comes, and this is around that 9.7, 9.8 cents area. It looks like it's an area where it needs to test it a few times before it breaks above, right? So let's pull up the 4 hour here and let's see. Just like I imagined, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 came up to retest that 9.7 cent area. And then now look, finally on the 4 hour, you might be forming to where you're getting some support above that 9.7 cent area. So obviously that's going to be solid because now if you can use that as support, I wouldn't be surprised if Caspa starts running up. You have the 0.5 at around 10.5 cents. And then from there on, you know, you're going to have this big 3.8, the 0.3, the point, I'm forgetting my Fib retracements here, the 382, the 0.382 going to be coming up here at some point, which is going to be around your 12.8, we'll call it 13 cent, is going to be an area for some massive resistance as well. So, but the point of the story is, Caspa was a solid project, and you guys are making, if you really look, you're making higher lows as you're moving. You're finding key spots as support as you're moving up. Usually tends to be a solid move, and you're going to see probably a lot more move towards the upside for Caspa. So definitely very bullish on Caspa. I'm bullish on the whole market right now, bro. The whole market. MJ, you're still holding on Me Lady. Nice, bro. I mean, bro, we've talked about it plenty of times as of late because, like I said, we've had some people popping back up, and they're like, bro, I haven't been here since Me Lady and stuff like that. What stinks is Me Lady hasn't performed like she did do really well, right? 2 years ago, she was making those highs, you know, absolutely killing. It looks like the last 6 months, 8 months has been kind of just real dormant. You know, one thing I said was I wouldn't be surprised, you know, at some point Me Lady just pops up out of nowhere and just starts running, you know, so market cap so low as of now. I think she was at 28 million as of the other day, I believe. Let's see. I'm sure she's probably higher now. Oh, 24 million. Okay. Dude, that's such a small market cap. Such a small market cap. Volume looks good. For a $24 million market cap, almost $10 million in volume looks great. So hopefully she's setting up for a nice run, dude. Hopefully she's setting up for a big run. No problem, brother. Old said, I'm debating about selling everything I have except for Pepe and Cass. I mean, obviously, first thing I'm going to say is I'm not going to give out financial advice, right? But the other thing that I will say, like, in my opinion, like, unless a project right now has run up, like if I was in OKB, right? OKB is up 130% right now, right? 127%. I probably would be considering selling right now and then just repositioning myself because I'm sure it's going to cool off, today or tomorrow. It's going to drop. It's probably going to hold some solid gains, but I'm sure at some point it's going to probably, cool off. So I would be looking to reposition myself. I mean, look at this freaking candle, right? And that's what people did, obviously, right? You look at this candle. The point of why I bring this up is because stuff like this is what you take advantage of, right? 200% move in a day. Hell yeah. It's going to cool off. If you can catch that top, reposition yourself. But anything else that hasn't done anything like this yet, I don't know. I would probably, in my opinion, like I'm not looking to sell off anything because every project's going to have a day like this coming up probably soon, where you're going to see these massive runs, these massive giga candles that are going to form on your daily, right? Take advantage of it. If you got yourself in a good position, no diddy, buying in at a solid price, just have patience. Have patience, and just let everything play itself out. That's what I think. But if you are looking, you're like, bro, but Pepe, there's this, Pepe's about to release this or, something that justifies that kind of move. All right. Then I could see that happening, A little bit of a sell-off right now on Bitcoin. So far, we topped out at 122,200. Right now, we're sitting at around 121,200. So a little bit of a sell-off as of now. What's Ethereum holding strong? Yes, she is. I don't know why, but it popped up on one of my news feeds on one of my socials, and it was like this Bitcoin Maxi channel. And it popped up, and I was holding my Twitter fingers back so bad. I wanted to go in there and just start talking so much crap because I love Bitcoin, right? But Bitcoin Maxis hate everything other than Bitcoin, right? And the post was like, oh, alts, yeah, you had your run. Like they're talking about the last couple of days or last few weeks, but they were like, that's it. Time for the Bitcoin show again. I hope you enjoyed your little run. You're done for the next, they're saying that was it. And I'm just like, wanting to go off so bad, and it's just like, I don't understand why it has to be so tribal with Bitcoin Maxis, and if you're, what's a Bitcoin Maxis are basically people that are just like, they only believe in Bitcoin and they hate everything else. Everything else is a shit coin. Ethereum and on, right? Everything else is a shit coin. And it's like back in 2020, 21, they had an argument, but what was funny is like the same people, these maxis, and I remember, coming into the space and they were just like, they would like, if you told any of them that you were holding on to Dogecoin, they would spit at you. Ultimately, that's how they looked at you. You're like, they would spit at you. You were beneath them, right? But at the end of the bull run, a lot of these people were like, I hate Dogecoin, but damn, that shit ran up hundreds of did 100x, and the smart ones were the ones that were like, you know what, I believe in Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's like the holy grail, but why won't I make money on other projects as well, right? And those are the smart ones. The dumb ones it doesn't matter. It's just Bitcoin or that's it. And it was just like this page popped up, and that's exactly what it was. And I was just like, I was going through some of the posts, and I was just like, oh, holding back, just talking trash. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let everything play itself out. And the reason why I say that is because, like right now, you're saying Bitcoin, nice run, but a big cool off, and you're seeing Ethereum literally still holding its ground so solid right now. And I'm sure if we pull up dominance is starting to cool off as well. Yep, dominance is starting to cool off as well, right? So, Rocky, what's going on, bro? Rocky said he's holding Milady too. Bro, should we buy some Milady? I'm starting to get those Milady vibes. I honestly might end up grabbing a little bit of Milady. I might end up doing it. Just because I feel like we were like the Milady channel, right? And I would hate for Milady to run up, finally hit that like multi-billion-dollar mark, and I'm sitting here just watching. I would be happy, but at the same time, I would be like, bro, why didn't you have a bag still of Milady? Punk said, "What's up with Brett? And where is the new Brett What's up with Brett? And where is a new Brett on bags on Solana?" Well, Brett, I know, is on base, obviously. Is Brett still the biggest meme coin on base? Because it was, but base has been having a lot of meme coins popping up. So I'm wondering if it's still holding that title. I wonder if it still holds the title of being the biggest meme coin on base. So, I mean, real quick, just base, obviously market cap's right under 600 million. Liquidity, solid on just this swap. Aerodrome, it has about $4 million in liquidity. Volume on just this swap is around just under $3 million. The maker's a little low at around 400, but I'm sure a lot of money on Brett's probably coming in through central exchanges is what I would imagine nowadays. Let me just pull that up here. Yeah, it looks like volume's at $57 million, right? So that's big. That's pretty big. So, I mean, the project seems to be doing fantastic in regards to its numbers. Volume looks great. Technically, after you guys had a nice little run up, you can see it is looking like it's wanting to, continue that run. As of now, it looks like it's been making higher lows as you're moving up. So I would say the 786 right here at around 6.9 cents, or maybe we'll call it 7 cents, is going to be a spot for some resistance. And other than that, just pulling up this spot that for whatever reason you guys hit as resistance, it looks like around the 9.1 cents is your next big spot for some resistance as well. But I mean, all in all, base is building, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if the biggest meme coin on base, continues to move up with the ecosystem as well. So that, and you guys have 900,000 holders. The numbers look fantastic for Brett. So. Well, and Punk, you said, where is a new Brett on bags? Hold on, are you asking about a project Brett on bags? Is that a new project? No, I don't think there's any Brett on bags. Punk's probably sitting there shaking his head like, no, bro. Not Brett on bags. Old said, I kept on thinking that when I could have bought 300 Bitcoin for $300. Bro, you could have bought, you were there around when it was at $1. If I had done that, I could have helped everyone I know financially. I forget what year that was. It was probably 2000 and who knows. For it to be under $1, I would imagine it would have been like in the first few years of Bitcoin's life. Rocky said, "Does Ethereum pull Pepe?" What do you mean by that? Like, is Ethereum doing? If Ethereum's doing good, is it going to move Pepe? Is that what you're asking? Let me hold on here. If you're asking if like Pepe being on Ethereum, is that going to benefit? And I would say 100%. 100%. I would imagine that most projects that are Ethereum based on Ethereum's ecosystem are going to benefit, whether it be largely or at least very minimal. They're going to benefit from just being on Ethereum, because you have to remember a lot of their liquidity is tied in through that ecosystem, right? So Ethereum, Ethereum's moving up, the liquidity, the price of that particular project that's on the ecosystem is going to just naturally move up because it's tied in through Ethereum, right? If that makes any sense. So, and then obviously you tie in also if the project's doing well. I mean, something like Pepe is just, it always blows my mind. Pepe's market cap, $5 billion, right? Volume for Pepe, $1.5 billion. Like, absolutely insane. Oh, do you want to talk about looking back and just being like, fuck, right? Excuse my language, but I have to say it on this one to emphasize how much I look back and I'm like, why? Bro, I could have bought in on Pepe, and we all could have, right? But I was sitting there literally looking at Pepe when it was at $100 million market cap, right? It had already run up to $1 billion, and then it had come down. This was during a bear market. And this is why I always said, even during when we were talking about Milady during a bear market, and we were coming out of that bear market, Pepe was the only meme coin. It was born during a bear market, right? And it actually, it came out and I mean exploded and ran to like $1 billion in like a 24 or 48 hour period. This is when the market was, I'm talking about, it was ghost town across the whole crypto space. Everything was down. Everybody was like this, all the central exchanges were crashing, all this shit. And Pepe comes out and explodes in a day, right? And I was just like, holy shit, like for a project to do that, when it dropped down to 100 million, I was like, this project's probably going to do really well during a bull run. $5 billion market cap. $5 billion, guys. What is Doge? Let's look at what's Doge's volume at right now. Oh. Okay, all right. Doge's volume's at $4.2 billion. So you got to keep the throne for Doge, right? But I've said this. Pepe's going to be coming after Doge during this like massive the top of this market. Telling you guys. Let me see what Shiba is doing. Oof. What blows my mind is Shiba, $8 billion market cap, right? $8 billion market cap. And the volume technically is only at 363 million, right? That blows my mind. Very small volume compared to its market cap. Doge is doing very well, and Pepe is absolutely killing it. Shiba better watch out. That's all I'm saying. So, Rocky, to answer your question, yeah, bro, for sure. If Ethereum continues to keep moving, you're gonna see everything that's pretty much on that ecosystem is gonna benefit from it. Right, and especially if it's getting good volume, people are buying in, it's going to do even better. So, do you guys? So you think Toshi? Let's see. So Brett's market cap's at 600. Where's Toshi at? Toshi's market cap's not that high. The market cap's at 320. So Brett's still holding the throne for right now. Still holding the throne. Punk said there's a new Brett. It's on Solana. I mean, I see this one right here. I just don't know how much I believe in all this stuff. The volume's at $10,000. That can't be it. Oh, right here. This is probably the one that you're talking about. It dropped a day ago. I wouldn't. I would be very cautious with this one. Brett by Matt Fury on bags. Oh, this is what you're talking about. All royalties received by Matt Fury. Dex listing via Dex Vault. I mean, market cap's at 178,000. Liquidity is at 53,000. Volume obviously is very good because it just dropped 24 hours ago. I don't know. Does this guy Matt Furry, well, however you pronounce his name, is he associated with the actual Brett? That's the question. Flip said during the parabolic phase, do all projects retrace after a 109% gain? That's a good question. That is a good question. So Flip's asking like during the actual, like when, like back in 2021, towards the end when we were in like full-blown altcoin season, when things were running up and all these projects were having 100, 200, 300% days, right? That's going to happen, right? Did they retrace? And to answer that question, Flip, no, they didn't. A lot of them potentially did, and you're going to see retracements. If you have a 300% candle in a day, you're going to see people taking profits, right? So to think that there's not there's not a retracement at some point or slightly is, that's not correct. But what the difference is like right now we're not there yet, right? So if you do see these 100, 200% moves in a day, you're going to see people taking profits. But what's the difference is when we're in that full parabolic stage, you're going to see those 200% moves. You're going to see retracements, but it's going to be quick, and you're going to see even higher highs following behind because the amount of volume, the amount of money, the amount of FOMO that is in at that time during that parabolic, era is insane, right? So you're going to always see those little small retracements, but it's not going to be the same as what you're seeing currently right now, where if you have a project that is up 100, 200% in a day, you're going to see a 50% probably retracement at the very least because people are going to take profits, right? And kind of reposition themselves versus, when we're in the thick of things, you're going to see those moves, but you're not going to see a 60% retracement right after. You might see a 25, 30, maybe a 40%, but it's going to be quick, swift, and then you're going to blink and look, and it's going to be even higher high, because people are just FOMOing in like crazy, So that's a good question, bro. Old said the Degen plays I did the last 2 years wore me out. No diddy. I just want to do long-term holds, Caspa, and maybe in 5 to 10 years it might be in the top 10. Hell yeah. Shout out to Flip with the $20 super chat, bro. And send in the hearts. You sent $20, so I'll take the hearts, bro. I appreciate it, man. We won't even say no diddy on that one. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, man. I do appreciate the support, dude. Thank you so much, man. I do thank you so much for that. Old, I agree with you as far as having some of those, having, like a few projects that have that, the utility behind it and the potential to be in the top 10. When you look back, you go back a few years ago, the top 10 wasn't the top 10 that we have right now. There were obviously, like Dogecoin was in the top 10, Ethereum and Bitcoin for sure were in the top 10, right? And XRP has held its way up there. But even like right now, like ADA was like the top 5 or top 6. I don't even know if ADA's in the top 10 right now. Let's see. Like, oh, it is. It just got into the number 10 spot right there. So the point of what I'm getting to is like Solana wasn't there. There was a few ones that weren't there that are there now. And what I'm getting to is probably in the next, few years down the road or the next run, maybe we're going to see, a few different names that are in here. Doesn't mean that Solana and Dogecoin and Cardano aren't going to be massive, but you have to remember, as we continue to move, to get into that top 10 is going to be harder and harder. The market caps are going to just keep increasing and increasing, right? So right now, to get in to the top 10, you have to have at least a $31 billion market cap. I would imagine in 5 years from now, it's going to be, you have to have at least a $50 to $60 billion market cap to be in the top 10, right? So maybe Cardano's at 45 billion. I'm just throwing this out there. So maybe it's not at the top 10. It's moved up like crazy, but maybe it's not in the top 10 because that threshold just keeps moving up and up and up as years continue, right? And we continue to have more money flowing into the market. Flip said, I need the insight on my rotation plan. Thanks. No worries, dude. Listen, tonight, because I know Old mentioned, and for yourself, we'll definitely have a members only stream tonight. And like I said, I mean, whatever we'll continue, because I think it's imperative that we just continue to just make sure that we have this plan set up, for these next few weeks, next few months, right? So whatever you guys want to cover, 100%, we will do that tonight on the member stream. Old said, I never understood the non-utility meme coins being in the top 10. I mean, hype. Really, right? I mean, the community. Doge built up such a just massive community that, like, you still have people that are holding Doge from when Doge was less than a cent, back in like 2020, So, I mean, these people, they're still waiting for that $1 Doge that they never got, We were promised a dollar Doge in 2021, and we got so close, but we didn't get there. You'll be gone between 4 and 6 Eastern time. Well, I mean, if anything, you can watch it after. I mean, we can always. It depends. Sometimes I'd rather do it like later streams. I wouldn't. Maybe we'll do like a later stream, like around 7 or something. We'll see. Let's see here. So Bitcoin came down to 120,700, and it looks like we're breaking back up towards that 121. So we'll see what today brings as far as with the markets. But all in all, things look good, guys. Things look great, right? We're looking at the daily right here, and you can see across the board, everything looks fantastic. We're on our way. Dominance it's still down. It looks like it wants to start moving back up. You can tell as Bitcoin's price is moving up, dominance is obviously moving up as well. So we'll see how this plays out. But I mean, Ethereum really isn't budging at all. Let's see here. It is having a little bit of a cool off here. That's why you don't mock them. Remember, I was mocking the maxis like 30 minutes ago. That's why you don't mock them. Because they're probably listening like, oh, all right. Sailor, drop 50 billion in Bitcoin real quick. Let's show this guy. He's like, I just bought 20 billion yesterday. All right. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, that's pretty much it. Flip. Shout out to Flip. Thank you so much, Flip, for the $20 super chat, bro. I do appreciate that. Thank you. I thank you so much. We will be back here later on tonight for our member stream. We'll go over a lot more things. We'll get more in depth as far as this final cycle and stuff like that. But with that, you guys have a productive day. Enjoy your day. We're having a great day in the market. So have a great one, and I'll see each and every one of you guys a little later. All right, guys. Thank you again. See ya.